This is my third and final offer. Either you accept these terms, or we are done right here.
The text message glowed on Ryland's phone like a trap he couldn't see yet. She'll be waiting for you at 7 p.m. Don't mess this up. He stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Something about the tone felt wrong, too casual, too confident. Like whoever sent it knew something he didn't. Ryland sat in his small workshop behind the house, sawdust coating his forearms, the smell of fresh-cut pine thick in the air. Wood shavings curled at his feet. The table saw hummed in the corner, still warm from an hour of work. He'd been building a bookshelf for Nova's room, something sturdy, something that wouldn't break when she leaned too hard against it while reading. Everything he built was made to last. But right now, his hands weren't steady. He hadn't been on a date in 3 years, not since Vieira walked out. Not since the morning he woke up to an empty closet and a note on the kitchen counter that said, "I can't do this anymore." No explanation, no warning, just gone. And if you're watching this, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because what happens next is going to leave you speechless. Ryland wiped his hands on his jeans and stood. The workshop door creaked as he stepped into the backyard. Late afternoon sun painted the grass gold. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. A lawnmower buzzed. Normal sounds, safe sounds, but his chest felt tight. "Dad?" He turned. Nova stood in the doorway, one hand gripping the frame, her curls pulled back in a purple scrunchie. She was 8, but she had eyes that saw too much. Eyes that had watched her mother leave and never learned how to forget it. "You okay?" she asked. Ryland forced a smile. "Yeah, baby, just thinking." "About the date?" He blinked. "How'd you know about that?" Nova shrugged, stepping onto the grass. "I heard you on the phone yesterday. You sounded nervous." "I wasn't nervous." "You said like 10 times. Ryland laughed despite himself. "All right, maybe a little nervous." She walked over and grabbed his hand. Her fingers were small, warm, sticky from the popsicle she'd been eating. "Is she nice?" "I don't know yet." "Then why are you going?" Good question. Ryland crouched down so they were eye level. "Because sometimes you gotta take a chance, even when you're scared." Nova tilted her head. "What if she doesn't like you?" "Then I come home and we watch that movie you've been bugging me about." She grinned. "The one with the talking dog?" "That's the one." Nova hugged him, quick and tight, then pulled back. "Don't mess it up, Dad." He laughed. "I'll try." But as she ran back inside, something cold settled in his stomach. The text had come from Damon, an old friend, or at least someone who used to be a friend. Back in high school, they'd been close. Ryland, Damon, and Krell. The 3 of them used to hang out every weekend, working on cars, playing basketball, talking about the future like it was something they could control. But life split them apart. Ryland got married young, had a kid, tried to build something stable. Damon and Krell kept partying, kept drifting, kept waiting for success to fall into their laps. When Vieira left, Damon and Krell showed up with beer and bad advice. They told him to forget her, to move on, to stop being so serious all the time. They didn't understand that he couldn't just move on. Not when he had a daughter who cried herself to sleep asking why mommy didn't love her anymore. So Ryland pulled away, focused on Nova, focused on work, and then his business took off. It started small, just a few videos of him building furniture in his garage. He didn't even script them. He just turned on the camera and worked, talking through the process, showing people how to cut joints, how to sand edges, how to finish wood so it glowed like honey. People loved it. Within 6 months, he had sponsorships. Within a year, he had a waiting list for custom orders. Brands started reaching out. Local news did a segment on him. Someone even called him an inspiration. But success has a way of showing you who your real friends are. Damon started making jokes, little digs. "Must be nice to get famous for playing with wood." Krell would laugh, then add, "Yeah, while the rest of us are out here working real jobs." Ryland ignored it. He didn't have time for jealousy. Then, 2 months ago, Damon called with a business pitch. Some kind of investment scheme. Flipping houses, he said. Easy money. All Ryland had to do was put in 20 grand and let them handle the rest. Ryland said, No, not because he didn't have the money, but because something about it felt wrong. The numbers didn't add up. The timeline was too vague. And when he asked questions, Damon got defensive. That was the last time they talked. Until today. Rylan checked the time, 6:30. He needed to get ready. He showered, shaved, pulled on the shirt Nova had picked out for him last week. It was dark blue, buttoned, the kind of thing he never wore unless he had to. She'd told him it made him look handsome. He wasn't sure he believed her, but he wore it anyway. By the time he got in the car, his heart was pounding. The restaurant was called Ember and Oak. Upscale, the kind of place with cloth napkins and waiters who refilled your water before you even noticed it was low. Rylan had never been there, but he'd driven past it 100 times. He parked in the back lot, sat for a moment, gripped the steering wheel. What if she doesn't show up? What if this is a joke? He shook his head, climbed out, locked the door. Inside, the restaurant was warm. Golden light spilled from chandeliers. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers. The smell of garlic and rosemary hung in the air. People sat in leather booths, leaning close, laughing, clinking glasses. Rylan stood near the entrance, scanning the room. And then he saw her. She sat alone at a corner table, backlit by candlelight. Her dress was crimson, off the shoulder, elegant in a way that didn't try too hard. Her hair fell in dark waves past her shoulders. Her hands rested on the table, still, composed. She wasn't looking at her phone, wasn't fidgeting, just sitting, waiting. Rylan's mouth went dry. He walked over, heartbeat loud in his ears. "Seneca," he said. She looked up. Her eyes were deep brown, sharp, studying him with a kind of focus that made him feel seen in a way he wasn't used to. She smiled, small, genuine. Then she raised her hands and started signing. Rylan froze, not because he didn't understand, but because he did. She was deaf. And somewhere behind him, hidden in the crowd, 2 men sat with their phones out, recording everything, whispering to each other like kids pulling a prank. Damon leaned toward Krell, grinning. "This is going to be perfect." Krell smirked. "Wait until you see his face when he realizes." But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that Rylan Morrow had spent the last 2 years learning sign language for Nova's best friend. For moments exactly like this, and when he sat down, smiled, and signed back. "It's good to meet you." Seneca's eyes widened. Damon's grin vanished, and everything they'd planned fell apart. What would you do if someone set you up to fail, but you turned it into your biggest win? Seneca's hands paused midair. For 3 full seconds, she didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at Rylan like he'd spoken a language she thought only she knew. Then, slowly, her lips curved into something softer than a smile, something like relief. She signed again, slower this time, testing him. "You know ASL?" Rylan nodded. "Not perfect, but I'm learning." Her shoulders dropped. The tension she'd been holding since he sat down melted. She leaned forward slightly, fingers moving with more confidence now. "Most people panic when they realize." "I'm not most people," he signed back. Seneca laughed. It was quiet, barely audible, but it reached her eyes. She picked up the menu, glanced at it, then set it down. Her gaze drifted past him for just a moment, toward something behind him. But she didn't say anything. Rylan noticed. The restaurant buzzed with low conversation. Silverware clinked against plates. A waiter moved between tables with a tray of wine glasses, each one catching the light from the chandelier above. The air smelled like roasted vegetables and fresh bread. Everything about the place felt warm, expensive. The kind of spot you took someone when you wanted to impress them. But Rylan wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just trying not to screw this up. Seneca tapped the table lightly to get his attention. "How long have you been signing?" 2 years, Rylan signed. "My daughter's best friend is deaf. I wanted to make sure she felt included when she came over." Seneca's expression shifted. Something deeper flickered across her face. Not pity, not surprise, just recognition. Like she understood what that meant without him having to explain it. "That's rare," she signed. "Most people don't bother." "They should," Rylan replied. She studied him for a long moment. Then she reached for her phone, typed something, and slid it across the table. Your friends told me this was a casual meetup. They didn't mention it was a date. Ryland's jaw tightened. He glanced at the text, then back at her. They didn't tell me much either. Seneca tilted her head. Do you trust them? Ryland hesitated. I used to. Behind him, 2 tables away, Damon sat with his phone angled low, lens pointed directly at Ryland's back. Krell sat across from him, elbows on the table, trying not to laugh. Dude, this is gold, Krell whispered. Look at him. He's actually trying. Damon grinned, thumb hovering over the record button. Wait, just wait. He's going to realize any second now. But Ryland didn't realize, because there was nothing to realize. He wasn't uncomfortable, wasn't confused, wasn't looking around for an escape route like they expected. He was just talking, signing. Seneca pulled her phone back, typed again, slower this time. I almost didn't come tonight. Ryland frowned. Why? She looked down at her hands. Because I thought this was going to be another setup. Another guy who shows up, sees me sign, and suddenly remembers he has somewhere else to be. Her fingers trembled slightly on the last sign. Ryland didn't miss it. He leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. I'm not going anywhere. Seneca met his eyes. For a moment, she didn't sign. Didn't type. Just looked at him like she was deciding whether or not to believe him. Then she smiled again. Small, fragile, but real. Okay, she signed. The waiter appeared, tall and polished, holding a notepad. Good evening. Can I start you folks off with something to drink? Ryland glanced at Seneca. She pointed to the menu, then signed to him. Water's fine. 2 waters, Ryland said, and we'll need a few more minutes with the menu. The waiter nodded and disappeared. Seneca picked up the menu again, but her eyes kept flicking past Ryland, just quick glances, like she was checking something, or someone. Ryland turned slightly, following her gaze. That's when he saw them, Damon and Krell, sitting 2 tables back, phones out, grinning like idiots. His stomach dropped. Everything clicked. The weird text, the sudden invite, the way Damon had been so insistent that Ryland give it a shot, the way Krell kept saying, trust us, bro, she's perfect for you. This wasn't a date. It was a prank. Ryland's hands curled into fists under the table. His breath came slower, heavier, but he didn't move, didn't stand, didn't shout, because Seneca was watching him, and he wasn't about to prove them right. He turned back to her, forced his hands to relax, and signed. Can I ask you something? She nodded. Why did you come, if you thought it was a setup? Seneca's fingers moved carefully. Because I wanted to be wrong. That hit harder than Ryland expected. He swallowed, nodded. Me too. They ordered food. Seneca got the salmon, Ryland got the steak, medium rare, with roasted potatoes. They talked, through signs, through typed notes, through the kind of comfortable silence that only happens when 2 people aren't trying to fill every gap with noise. She told him about her job, graphic designer. Freelance. She worked from home most days, took on projects for small businesses, nonprofits, anyone who needed a logo or a website but couldn't afford the big agencies. He told her about his workshop, the furniture, the videos, the way Nova liked to sit on his workbench and supervise while he sanded edges. Seneca smiled at that. She sounds sweet. She is, Ryland signed. She's the only reason I'm still standing. Seneca's expression softened. You're a good dad. Ryland didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. Behind them, Damon's grin was fading. Why isn't he freaking out? Krell muttered. Damon zoomed in on his phone screen, watching Ryland's hands move. Is he signing? Krell leaned closer. No way. He is. Damon's voice was flat now. He's actually signing. Krell sat back, eyes wide. You've got to be kidding me. Damon's thumb hovered over the stop button. This isn't funny anymore. What do you mean? This is hilarious. He learned sign language? For what? Doesn't matter. Damon lowered his phone. This isn't going how we thought. Krell frowned. So what do we do? Damon didn't answer. because Seneca had just noticed them. Her eyes locked on Damon's phone, then on Krell's. Her face went cold, still, the kind of still that comes right before a storm. She typed something fast, shoved her phone across the table. Rylan read it. "Those men, do you know them?" He looked up, met her eyes, saw the fear there, the anger, the exhaustion of someone who'd been mocked one too many times. "Yeah," Rylan said quietly, "I know them." Seneca's jaw tightened. "They're recording us." Rylan's chest burned. He pushed his chair back, stood, slow, controlled. Every person in the restaurant seemed to sense the shift. Conversations quieted, heads turned. Rylan walked toward their table. Damon's face went pale. Krell straightened, trying to look casual. "Yo, Ry," Damon started. "Delete it," Rylan said. His voice was low, calm, but there was something underneath it that made both men freeze. "Delete what?" Krell said, forcing a laugh. "We're just—" "You're recording us," Rylan said. "Without her permission. Delete it, now." Damon held up his hands. "Relax, man. It's just a joke." "She's not a joke." The room went silent. Rylan stepped closer. Close enough that Damon had to tilt his head back to meet his eyes. "You set this up to embarrass me," Rylan said. "You wanted to catch me looking like an idiot. You wanted footage. You wanted views. And you were willing to humiliate her to get it." Krell shifted in his seat. That's exactly what this is." Rylan's voice didn't rise, didn't waver. "And I'm telling you right now, delete the videos, or I walk over to that manager and explain what you've been doing." Damon's hand shook as he held his phone. "You're overreacting? Am I?" Rylan glanced back at Seneca. She was still sitting, watching, arms crossed. Her face was unreadable, but her eyes burned. He turned back to Damon. "Delete it." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Seneca stood. She walked over, calm and deliberate, and stopped right next to Rylan. She didn't sign, didn't speak. She just stared at them. And somehow, that was louder than anything Rylan could have said. Damon broke first. He looked down at his phone, pressed delete, showed Rylan the screen. "There. Happy?" "Krell," Rylan said. Krell hesitated, then did the same. Rylan nodded. "Good." He turned, took Seneca's hand, and walked back to their table. Behind them, Damon and Krell sat in stunned silence. And somewhere in the back of the restaurant, the manager was already making his way toward them. Rylan and Seneca sat back down. Neither of them touched their food. "I'm sorry," Rylan signed. "I didn't know they'd do that." Seneca shook her head. "Not your fault." "Still." She reached across the table, took his hand, squeezed once. Then she signed something that made Rylan's chest tighten. "Thank you for standing up for me. Most people don't." Before Rylan could respond, his phone buzzed. A text from Nova. "Dad, did you go? I don't trust them." Rylan stared at the screen, and somewhere behind him, Damon whispered into his phone. "Plan B, then?" Rylan's thumbs hovered over his phone screen. Nova's text glowed in the dim restaurant light. "Dad, did you go? I don't trust them." He should have asked her why, should have pressed her before he left the house. But he'd been too focused on his own nerves, too distracted by the thought of sitting across from someone new, someone who might actually see him as more than just a single dad with sawdust under his nails. Now, sitting here with Seneca's hand still resting near his on the table, he realized Nova had known something he didn't. Kids always do. He typed back quickly. "I'm okay. I'll explain when I get home." Seneca tilted her head, watching him. "Everything all right?" Rylan nodded, slipping his phone into his pocket. "My daughter, she's smart. Too smart sometimes." Seneca smiled. "Sounds like she takes after you." "Nah, she's better than me." The waiter returned, clearing their plates even though neither of them had finished. The man's eyes darted toward the table where Damon and Krell sat, then back to Rylan. "Is everything okay here, sir?" "We're fine," Rylan said. "Thanks." The waiter nodded, but didn't leave. He glanced at Seneca. "Miss, if you need anything—" Seneca raised a hand, stopping him. She signed to Rylan. "Tell him thank you, but I'm okay." Rylan relayed the message, the The waiter hesitated, then left. Seneca leaned back in her chair, arms crossed loosely. Her gaze drifted past Rylan again, toward the back of the restaurant. This time, she didn't look away. "They're still here," she signed. Rylan didn't turn around. "I know." "Why?" "Good question. Damon and Krell should have left by now, should have slunk out the side door, embarrassed, tails between their legs. But they were still sitting there. Still watching, still whispering. Rylan's jaw tightened. "Because they're not done yet." Seneca's expression darkened. She pulled out her phone, typed fast, slid it across the table. "If they post anything, even after deleting it, I'll report them. I've dealt with this before." Rylan read the words twice. "This has happened to you before?" She nodded, slowly, like the memory hurt. "Twice," she signed. "Once in college, once last year. Both times, guys thought it was funny to film me without asking. One of them posted it, called it social experiment content. It got thousands of views before I could get it taken down." Rylan's hands clenched under the table. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be." Seneca's fingers paused. She looked at him for a long moment, then signed something softer. "Most people don't care enough to say that." Before Rylan could respond, his phone buzzed again. Not Nova this time. "Unknown number." He frowned, unlocked the screen. The message was short, just 3 words. "Check your email." His stomach twisted. He opened his email app. The newest message sat at the top, subject line blank, sender anonymous. He clicked it, and his blood went cold. It was a video. Thumbnail showed him sitting at the table with Seneca. The angle was from behind, slightly elevated, clear enough to see their faces, clear enough to see them signing. But the caption underneath made his chest burn. "Local inspirational dad gets set up on blind date with deaf woman. Watch his reaction." Rylan's vision blurred. They'd uploaded it anyway. Not to their personal accounts, to some random burner profile, anonymous, untraceable. He looked up, locked eyes with Damon across the restaurant. Damon smirked. Krell raised his glass in a mock toast. Rylan stood. Seneca grabbed his wrist. "Don't." He looked down at her. "They lied." "I know, but if you go over there, they win." "They already won." Seneca stood too, moving around the table to stand in front of him. She placed both hands on his chest. Not pushing, just grounding him. "Let me handle this." Rylan blinked. "What?" She pulled out her phone, snapped a photo of Damon and Krell, clear, focused, both of them still grinning, then turned back to Rylan. "I know people who deal with this kind of harassment for a living. If that video goes public, they'll bury them." Rylan wanted to argue, wanted to storm over there and flip their table, but the look in Seneca's eyes stopped him. She wasn't scared. She was done. And somehow, that was scarier. "Okay," he signed. "Okay." Seneca squeezed his hand once, then walked past him, straight toward Damon and Krell. Rylan followed, close enough to intervene if things went sideways. Seneca stopped at their table, didn't sit, didn't sign, just stared. Damon's smirk faltered. "Can we help you?" Seneca pulled out her phone, showed them the screenshot of the video, then pointed to the camera in the corner of the restaurant, then to the manager, who was now standing near the bar, watching. She typed something, turned the phone toward them. "You have 2 choices. Delete the video from whatever account you uploaded it to, or I call the police and file a harassment report. Your faces are already saved. Your profiles are already flagged. You have 60 seconds. Krell laughed nervously. "You can't." Seneca started a timer on her phone. Held it up. 59 seconds. Damon's face went pale. "This is insane." 55 seconds. "We were just messing around." 50 seconds. Krell looked at Damon. "Dude, just do it. She's bluffing." 45 seconds. Seneca didn't blink. Damon cursed under his breath. Pulled out his phone. Fingers shaking, he navigated to the account, found the video, and hit delete. He showed her the screen. Seneca checked, nodded, stopped the timer. Then she leaned down, close enough that both men flinched, and typed one last message. "If I ever see my face on your phone again, I'll make sure everyone you know sees exactly what kind of men you are. She straightened, turned, walked back to Rylan. Behind her, Damon and Krell sat frozen. The manager approached their table. Rylan couldn't hear what was said, but within 2 minutes, both men were standing, grabbing their jackets, and heading for the exit. Damon glanced back once. Rylan stared him down. And then, they were gone. Seneca exhaled slowly. Her hands trembled just slightly. Rylan noticed. "You okay?" He signed. She nodded. "Yeah. Just tired of this." "You shouldn't have to be." "I know." They stood there for a moment, neither of them moving. The restaurant buzzed around them, oblivious. Then Seneca signed something that made Rylan's chest tighten. "I didn't come here expecting to meet someone like you." "What do you mean?" "Someone who actually sees me, not my disability, not the challenge, just me." Rylan swallowed hard. "That's all I've been seeing since I sat down." Seneca's eyes glistened. She looked away. Blinking fast, then she smiled. Small. Real. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why did you really learn sign language?" Rylan hesitated, took a breath. "Because Nova's best friend Kiera came over one day and tried to tell me something, and I didn't understand. And I saw the look on her face when she realized I couldn't. She didn't cry, didn't get upset. She just shut down, stopped trying, and I hated that. Hated that I made her feel invisible. So I learned, because no kid should ever feel like their words don't matter." Seneca's hands shook as she signed back. "You're the first person I've met who learned for the right reason." Rylan didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. They walked back to the table. Finished their drinks, talked about small things, safe things, movies, music, the best places to get coffee in town. By the time they left, the restaurant was nearly empty. Rylan walked Seneca to her car, hands in his pockets, breath fogging in the cold night air. She unlocked the door, then turned back to him. "Thank you," she signed, "for tonight, for standing up, for everything. You don't have to thank me. I know, but I want to." She hesitated, then stepped closer and hugged him. It was quick, warm, the kind of hug that says more than words ever could. When she pulled back, her eyes were soft. "Can I see you again?" Rylan smiled. "I'd like that." Seneca climbed into her car, waved once, drove off. Rylan stood in the parking lot, watching her taillights disappear. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out, expecting another text from Nova. But it wasn't Nova. It was a voicemail. From Vieira. "We need to talk. Now." Rylan didn't listen to the voicemail right away. He sat in his truck, engine off, keys dangling from the ignition. The parking lot was nearly empty now. Just a couple of cars scattered under flickering streetlights. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. A siren wailed and faded. His phone sat on the dashboard, screen dark. He didn't want to hear her voice. Not tonight. Not after the way Seneca had looked at him when she drove away. Not after the way his chest had felt when she hugged him. Like something inside him that had been locked up tight for years had finally cracked open just a little. But Vieira didn't care about timing. She never had. Rylan picked up the phone. Pressed play. Her voice came through the speaker, sharp and clipped. "Rylan, I know you're out. I know you're on a date. And I need you to know that I'm not okay with this. We need to talk about Nova. About us. About what you think you're doing moving on like I don't exist. Call me back tonight." The message ended. Rylan stared at the screen. What you think you're doing moving on, like she had a say, like she hadn't walked out 3 years ago without looking back, like she hadn't missed birthdays, school plays, doctor's appointments, like she hadn't left Nova crying in her room, asking what she did wrong to make Mommy leave. Rylan's jaw clenched. He shoved the phone into his pocket, started the truck, and drove home. By the time he pulled into the driveway, the lights in the living room were still on. Nova was supposed to be in bed by 9. It was almost 10:30. He unlocked the front door, stepped inside. Nova was curled up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, eyes glued to the TV. Some cartoon he didn't recognize. She looked up when he walked in. "You're late," she said. "You're supposed to be asleep," Rylan replied. "I was waiting for you." He tossed his keys on the counter, walked over, and sat down next to her. She immediately leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. "How was it?" she asked. "Good." "Just good?" Rylan smiled. "Really good." Nova pulled back, studying his face. "You're smiling. You never smile after dates." "I haven't been on a date in 3 years." "Exactly." Rylan ruffled her hair. "Go to bed, smarty pants." "Not until you tell me about her." "There's not much to tell yet." "Is she nice?" "Yeah." "Is she pretty?" "Very." "Does she like you?" Rylan hesitated. "I think so." Nova grinned. "Good. You deserve someone nice." Something in Rylan's chest twisted. He kissed the top of her head. "All right, bed, now." She groaned but stood, dragging the blanket behind her like a cape. "Love you, Dad." "Love you too, baby." She disappeared down the hall. Rylan heard her door close. He sat on the couch for a long time, staring at the dark TV screen. Then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out. Another voicemail. Same number, Vieira. This time, he didn't hesitate. He pressed play. Her voice was different now. Softer, almost pleading. "Rye, please, I just want to talk. I know I hurt you. I know I hurt her. But I'm trying. I'm really trying. And I can't do this if you shut me out. Just call me. Please." Rylan deleted it. Then he stood, locked the front door, and went to bed. But sleep didn't come easy. He lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying the night. Seneca's smile, her hands moving in the candlelight. The way she'd stood up to Damon and Krell without flinching. The way she'd hugged him. He hadn't felt that kind of warmth in years. And now, Vieira wanted back in. Not because she missed him, because she didn't like the idea of him moving on. Rylan rolled over, closed his eyes, and tried to shut it all out. But his phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Vieira. It was a text. From Seneca, "Thank you again for tonight. I haven't felt that safe in a long time." Rylan's chest tightened. He typed back, "You don't have to thank me. I'm just glad you gave me a chance." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you believe people can change?" Rylan stared at the question for a long time. Then he typed, "I think some people can. If they really want to." The 3 dots lingered. Then her response came through. "I hope you're right." Rylan frowned. Before he could ask what she meant, another message appeared. "Good night, Rylan." "Good night." He set the phone down, closed his eyes, and finally, sleep came. But it didn't last long. At 2 a.m, his phone rang. Loud, insistent. Rylan jolted awake, fumbling for the phone on the nightstand. Unknown number? He almost didn't answer. But something made him press the green button. "Hello?" Silence, then breathing, heavy, uneven. "Who is this?" Rylan asked. A voice, male, slurred. "You think you're better than us?" Rylan sat up. "Damon, you embarrassed us, man, in front of everyone. You embarrassed yourselves. We were just having fun. You were being cruel. There's a difference." Damon laughed, bitter. "Whatever, man. Enjoy your little girlfriend. We'll see how long she sticks around once she realizes what you really are. And what's that? A joke. A guy who got lucky. A guy who thinks he's special because he learned a few hand signs." Rylan's grip tightened on the phone. "You done?" "Not even close." The line went dead. Rylan sat there in the dark, heart pounding. Then his phone buzzed again. A text from the same unknown number. A photo. It was a screenshot of a video. Thumbnail showed Rylan and Seneca at the restaurant. Different angle, closer, clearer. The caption underneath read, "Coming soon. The truth about Rylan Morrow." Rylan's blood ran cold. They hadn't deleted everything. They'd kept a backup, and now they were threatening to release it. He stared at the screen, mind racing. Then he heard something, a sound. Outside, footsteps. On the gravel driveway. Rylan stood, moved to the window, pulled the curtain back just slightly. A figure stood at the end of the driveway, lit by the streetlight, watching the house. Ryland's chest tightened. Then the figure raised a phone, took a photo, and walked away. Ryland grabbed his own phone, dialed 911. But before he could press call, another text came through. From Seneca. Someone just tried to break into my car. I'm scared. Ryland's hands shook. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Ryland didn't think. He just moved. He was out the door in seconds, barefoot, still in the t-shirt and sweatpants he'd thrown on before bed. The cold bit into his skin. Gravel crunched under his feet. He didn't care. His truck roared to life. He backed out of the driveway too fast, tires squealing, and punched Seneca's address into his phone. She'd sent it earlier, just in case. He hadn't thought he'd need it tonight. The streets were empty, dark. Every red light felt like a wall. He ran 2 of them. His phone buzzed on the passenger seat. He glanced down. Another text from Seneca. I called the police. They're on their way. Good, that was good. But Ryland didn't slow down. Seneca lived in a small duplex on the east side of town. Quiet neighborhood, old trees, porches with rocking chairs. The kind of place where people left their doors unlocked and said hello to strangers. Not tonight. Ryland pulled up to the curb, threw the truck into park, and jumped out. Seneca stood on her front porch, arms wrapped around herself, phone clutched in one hand. She was wearing an oversized sweatshirt and leggings, hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked smaller than she had at the restaurant. Younger, scared. Ryland jogged up the steps. You okay? She nodded, but her hands were shaking. He looked past her. The front door was open, lights on inside. What happened? Seneca typed on her phone, showed him the screen. I was getting ready for bed, heard glass break, came outside and saw someone running from my car. Ryland's jaw tightened. Did you see who it was? She shook her head. Too dark, but they were tall, wearing a hoodie. Ryland walked down the steps, over to her car. The passenger window was shattered. Glass littered the seat. The door was still locked, but someone had tried to pry it open. Deep scratches ran along the frame. He pulled out his phone, took pictures, then walked the perimeter of the car, checking for anything else. That's when he saw it, a piece of paper, tucked under the windshield wiper. He pulled it out, unfolded it, written in black marker, all caps. Stay away from him. Ryland's blood went cold. He turned back to Seneca, showed her the note. Her face drained of color. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Ryland folded the note, shoved it in his pocket. You're not staying here tonight. Seneca frowned. What? You're coming with me, just for tonight, until we figure this out. I can't. You can, and you will. She started to argue, but the look on his face stopped her. Okay, she signed. Let me grab a few things. She disappeared inside. Ryland stayed on the porch, eyes scanning the street. Every shadow felt like a threat. Every car that passed felt too slow. 2 minutes later, Seneca reappeared with a small overnight bag. She locked the door behind her, tested the handle twice, then followed Ryland to his truck. The police arrived just as they were pulling away. Ryland flagged them down, explained what happened, handed over the note. The officer, young, barely looked old enough to shave, took a report, promised to increase patrols in the area, and told them to call if anything else happened. Ryland didn't trust him, but he nodded anyway. They drove in silence. Seneca sat with her bag on her lap, staring out the window. Ryland kept checking the rearview mirror. No one followed. By the time they got back to his place, it was almost 4 a.m. Ryland unlocked the front door, held it open. Seneca stepped inside, looking around. The house was small. Lived in, wood floors, mismatched furniture, photos of Nova everywhere, on the mantle, taped to the fridge, stuck to the walls with thumbtacks. Seneca smiled faintly. She's beautiful. Yeah, Ryland signed. She is. He led Seneca down the hall, opened the guest room door. The bed was made, clean sheets, a lamp on the nightstand. It wasn't much, but it was safe. Bathrooms across the hall, he signed. If you need anything, I'm right next door. Seneca set her bag down, turned to face him. Thank you, she signed, for coming, for all of this. You don't have to thank me. I know, but I want to. She stepped closer, hugged him again. Tighter this time, like she was holding on to something she was afraid to lose. Rylan hugged her back, felt her heartbeat against his chest, fast, uneven. When she pulled away, her eyes were wet. I'm tired of being scared, she signed. I know, Rylan replied. Me too. She nodded, stepped back into the guest room, closed the door softly. Rylan stood in the hallway for a long time. Then he went to Nova's room, cracked the door. She was asleep, curled up under her blankets, stuffed animal tucked under her arm. He watched her breathe, safe, for now. But for how long? Rylan closed the door, walked to his own room, sat on the edge of the bed. His phone buzzed. Another text, unknown number. He almost didn't open it, but he did. A video, 30 seconds long. Timestamp said it was recorded 20 minutes ago. Rylan hit play. The video was shaky, dark. Someone was filming from inside a car, and the car was parked outside Seneca's duplex, watching, waiting. The video ended. Rylan's hands shook. He stood, paced, tried to think. Then his phone rang. He answered without checking the caller ID. Who is this? Silence. Then a voice, female, familiar. You think you can just move on? Rylan's stomach dropped. Vieira? You think you can just replace me? Replace us? There is no us. There will always be an us, Rylan, because of Nova, because of what we built, and I'm not going to let you destroy that by bringing some random woman into her life. You walked away, and I'm walking back, whether you like it or not. The line went dead. Rylan stood there, phone pressed to his ear, chest heaving. Then he heard something, a knock, soft, on his bedroom door. He opened it. Nova stood in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. Dad, I heard voices. Rylan crouched down. Just a bad dream, baby. Go back to bed. Was that Mom? Rylan froze. Nova stared at him, waiting. He didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. Nova's face crumpled. She's coming back, isn't she? Rylan pulled her into a hug. I won't let her hurt you, I promise. But even as he said it, he knew the truth. Vieira was already hurting her, just by existing. Nova pulled back, tears streaming down her face. I don't want her here, Dad. I don't want her to take you away. She's not going to... You don't know that. And she was right. He didn't. Nova wiped her eyes, turned, walked back to her room. Rylan stood in the hallway, fists clenched, heart pounding. Then his phone buzzed again. A text, from the same unknown number, one sentence. You can't protect them both. What would you do if the people you trusted most became the ones you feared? The shadow moved across Seneca's doorstep before Rylan could warn her. It was tall, deliberate, blocking the porch light. Seneca froze mid-step, keys dangling from her hand. Her breath caught. She turned to look back at Rylan, still standing by his truck, and her eyes went wide. The shadow stepped forward, into the light. Vieira. Her hair was longer than Rylan remembered, darker. She wore a leather jacket over a white tank top, jeans ripped at the knees, boots that clicked against the concrete. Her face was thinner, sharper, like the years had carved away everything soft. She looked at Seneca first, then at Rylan. So this is her, Vieira said. Her voice was flat, cold, the kind of tone that felt like a slap. Seneca didn't move, didn't sign. Just stood there, bag in hand, caught between the door and the woman who'd appeared out of nowhere. Rylan walked forward, slow, steady. What are you doing here, Vieira? I could ask you the same thing. Vieira's eyes flicked to Seneca again. Who's this? Your replacement? She's none of your business. Everything about you is my business. You're the father of my child. And you're the mother who walked away. Vieira flinched, just barely, but Rylan saw it. I didn't come here to fight, she said. Then why did you come? Vieira stepped closer, close enough that Rylan could smell her perfume, something floral, expensive, nothing like the woman he used to know. "I came because I heard you were moving on," she said, "and I needed to see it for myself." "You don't get to do this," Rylan said. "You don't get to show up after 3 years and act like you have a say in my life." "I'm not asking for a say. I'm asking for a chance." "A chance to do what?" "To be her mother again." The words hung in the air like smoke. Rylan stared at her. "You think Nova wants that?" "I think she deserves to decide for herself." "She already did. Every time you didn't call, every time you didn't show up, every birthday you missed. Every night she cried herself to sleep asking what she did wrong. She decided then." Vieira's jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Fair?" Rylan's voice rose. "You want to talk about fair? You left us. You walked out without a word. You didn't fight for her. You didn't fight for anything. And now you want to waltz back in and pretend none of that happened?" "I was broken, Rylan. I didn't know how to be what you needed, what she needed." "So you ran?" "Yes." Vieira's voice cracked. "I ran. And I've been paying for it every day since." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Seneca moved. She stepped between them, not aggressive, not confrontational, just present. She looked at Vieira, then at Rylan, and signed. "I'm going to wait inside." Rylan nodded. "I'll be right there." Seneca walked past Vieira, unlocked the door, and disappeared inside. Vieira watched her go, then turned back to Rylan. "She's deaf," Vieira said. It wasn't a question. "Yeah." "And you learned sign language for her?" "No, I learned it for Nova's best friend, long before I met Seneca." Vieira's expression shifted, something softer, something that looked almost like regret. "You're a good man, Rylan. You always were." "Don't. I mean it. You don't get to compliment me, not after what you did." Vieira nodded slowly. "You're right. I don't." She turned to leave, then stopped. "I'm not going away," she said. "I want to see her. I want to talk to her. And if you won't let me, I'll go through the courts." Rylan's blood went cold. "You wouldn't." "I would, because she's my daughter too, and I have rights. You forfeited those rights when you left. That's not how the law works." Rylan stepped closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "You try to take her from me," he said quietly, "and I will fight you with everything I have." Vieira held his gaze. "I'm not trying to take her from you. I'm trying to be part of her life again." "Then prove it. Stop showing up unannounced. Stop threatening me. Stop acting like you're entitled to her just because you gave birth to her. If you want to be her mother, you have to earn it." Vieira's eyes glistened. "And what if she doesn't want me?" "Then you accept it, and you leave her alone." For a long moment, Vieira said nothing. Then she nodded, turned, walked away. Rylan watched her disappear into the darkness. Then he heard it, a sound, from inside the house, a crash. Rylan's heart stopped. He ran to the door, threw it open. Seneca stood in the hallway, phone in hand, face pale. The living room window was shattered. Glass covered the floor. A brick sat in the middle of the rug, and wrapped around the brick was a piece of paper. Rylan picked it up, unfolded it, written in the same black marker as before. "Last warning. How far would you go to protect the people you love when the threats keep getting closer?" Rylan didn't sleep that night. He sat on the couch, brick still on the coffee table, Seneca asleep in the guest room, Nova safe behind a locked door. Every sound outside made his muscles tense. Every car that passed, every dog that barked, every branch that scraped against the window. He'd called the police again. Different officer this time. Older, more experienced, took the brick, took the note, asked the same questions, promised to follow up. Rylan didn't believe him either. By the time the sun came up, his eyes burned, his back ached, his mind felt like static. Nova shuffled into the living room, rubbing her eyes. She stopped when she saw the boarded-up window. "What happened?" she asked. Rylan stood. "Someone threw a rock. It's okay." "It's not okay." "I know." Nova walked over, looked up at him. "Is it because of her?" "Who?" "The woman from last night, the one in the guest room." Rylan hesitated. How do you know about her? I heard you talking. I heard the car. I'm not stupid, Dad. Rylan crouched down. I never said you were. Then don't lie to me. Her voice was small, but firm. Rylan took a breath. Yes. It's because of her. Someone doesn't want me spending time with her. Who? I don't know yet. Is it Mom? The question hit harder than the brick. I don't think so, Rylan said, but even as he said it, doubt crept in. Nova crossed her arms. I don't trust her. Your mom? Any of them. Rylan pulled her into a hug. She resisted at first, then melted into him. I won't let anything happen to you, he whispered. You can't promise that. She was right. He couldn't. Seneca appeared in the hallway, dressed in the same clothes from the night before. She looked tired, scared, but she forced a smile when she saw Nova. Nova stared at her, then signed. Are you okay? Seneca's eyes widened. She looked at Rylan, back at Nova. You know sign language? My best friend taught me. Seneca's face softened. She signed back. I'm okay. Just a little shaken. Me too, Nova replied. They stood there for a moment, two people connected by silence. Then Nova turned to Rylan. I like her. Rylan smiled. Me too. But the moment didn't last. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out. A notification. From his business email. He opened it. The subject line made his stomach drop. Urgent. Sponsorship cancellation. He clicked. Read the email twice. One of his biggest sponsors, a national home improvement brand, was pulling out. Effective immediately. No explanation. Just a cold corporate message thanking him for his time and wishing him well. Rylan's chest tightened. He clicked over to his social media, opened his latest video. The comments section was flooded. Heard you're a fake. Using your daughter for clout? Disgusting. Someone leaked footage of you. You're not who you pretend to be. Disappointed, unfollowing. Rylan scrolled and scrolled. Hundreds of comments, all saying the same thing. Someone had posted a video. He found it, clicked. It was edited, heavily. Showed him at the restaurant with Seneca. But the audio was distorted, made it sound like he was mocking her. Made it look like he was uncomfortable, made the whole night look like a joke, and it had already been viewed 50,000 times. Rylan's hands shook. He looked up. Seneca was watching him. What's wrong? She signed. Rylan showed her the phone. Her face went pale. They did this? Yeah. Can you take it down? I can try, but the damage is already done. Seneca sat down, put her head in her hands. Nova walked over. Dad? Rylan looked at her, forced a smile. It's okay, baby, just work stuff. You're lying again. He didn't respond, because she was right. The rest of the day passed in a haze. Rylan spent hours on the phone, emailing sponsors, reporting the video, trying to explain, trying to defend himself. But no one wanted to listen. By late afternoon, 2 more sponsors had pulled out. His inbox was full of angry messages. His follower count had dropped by thousands. Everything he'd built was crumbling, and he couldn't stop it. Seneca stayed quiet most of the day, sitting in the corner, typing on her phone, deleting, typing again. Finally, she stood, walked over to Rylan. I'm sorry, she signed. This is my fault. No, it's not. It is. If I hadn't gone on that date, if I hadn't... Rylan grabbed her hands, gently. Stop. This is not your fault. This is them, Damon, Krell, whoever else is involved, not you. Seneca's eyes filled with tears. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything. You're not. Then what am I? Rylan didn't have an answer, because he didn't know anymore. That night, after Nova went to bed, Rylan sat on the porch, staring at the street, waiting for something, anything. His phone buzzed, another unknown number. He answered. Hello? Breathing, heavy, familiar. You should have listened, Damon's voice said. Rylan's jaw clenched. What do you want? I want you to understand something. You embarrassed us. You made us look like fools. And now we're returning the favor. By destroying my business, by showing people who you really are. I didn't do anything wrong. You chose her over us. That's all the wrong we need. The line went dead. Rylan sat there, phone in hand, heart pounding. Then he heard a car engine, slow, idling. He looked up. A black sedan sat at the end of the driveway. Windows tinted, engine running. Rylan stood. The car didn't move. He walked down the steps, across the yard. The car's headlights flicked on, blinding him. Then it reversed, fast, and disappeared around the corner. Rylan stood in the street, fists clenched, breath ragged. Then his phone buzzed again. A text from Seneca. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. When everything you've built starts to fall apart, how do you decide what's worth fighting for? Chapter 8. Rylan read the message 3 times. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. His thumb hovered over the call button, pressed it. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Voicemail? He tried again. Same result. Rylan stood in the driveway, phone pressed to his ear, the cold night air biting at his skin. She was still inside, in the guest room. He'd just seen her an hour ago. He walked back to the house, knocked softly on the guest room door. Seneca? No answer. He knocked again. Can we talk? Still nothing. Rylan pressed his forehead against the door. I know you're scared. I am too, but you don't have to go through this alone. Silence. Then, faintly, he heard movement. The door opened, just a crack. Seneca stood there, eyes red, bag already packed. I'm leaving, she signed. Why? Because everywhere I go, people get hurt. First my family. Then my friends, now you. I'm not doing this again. You're not hurting me. Yes, I am. Your business is falling apart because of me. Your daughter is scared because of me. You're getting threats because of me. That's not true. Then who else is it because of? Rylan didn't have an answer. Seneca stepped past him, walked toward the front door. Rylan followed. Where are you going to go? She stopped, turned. Somewhere safe. You don't think you're safe here? I don't think anyone's safe around me. She opened the door and froze. Someone stood on the porch. Vieira. She looked different, calmer. Her face was softer, hands tucked into her jacket pockets. I'm not here to fight, Vieira said. I just want to talk. Seneca looked at Rylan. He stepped forward. Now's not a good time. It never is, Vieira interrupted. But I'm not leaving until you hear me out. Rylan's jaw tightened. Fine, talk. Vieira glanced at Seneca. Can we do this alone? No, Rylan said. Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of her. Vieira hesitated, then nodded. She stepped inside. Seneca moved to the side, arms crossed, watching. I talked to Nova's school today, Vieira said. Asked about setting up a meeting. They said you'd have to approve it first. And you thought showing up here would help? I thought being honest would. You haven't been honest in 3 years. Vieira flinched. You're right, I haven't, but I'm trying now. Why? Why now? Because I saw the video. Rylan's chest tightened. What video? The one going around online. The one where those guys tried to humiliate you. And I realized something. She paused, looked at Seneca, then back at Rylan. You're a better person than I ever gave you credit for. And Nova deserves to have you in her life, not me. You. Rylan stared at her. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't want custody. I don't want to fight you. I just want to see her. Once in a while, if she'll let me. Rylan didn't know what to say. Vieira wiped her eyes. I know I don't deserve it. I know I hurt her, hurt you. But I'm asking anyway, because she's my daughter, and I miss her. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Seneca stepped forward, pulled out her phone, typed something, showed it to Vieira. She's scared of you. Vieira read the message, nodded. I know. Then why would you come back and make it worse? Vieira looked at Rylan. Because I don't want her to grow up thinking I didn't care. I do care. I just didn't know how to show it. Seneca typed again. Then show her now, not by forcing your way in, but by proving you've changed. Vieira stared at the screen, then at Seneca. "You're right," she said quietly. "I will." She turned to Rylan. "I'm sorry for everything. I'll leave you alone. But if she ever wants to talk, just let me know." She walked to the door, stopped, looked back. "You deserve to be happy, Rylan. Don't let anyone take that from you." And then she was gone. Rylan stood there, staring at the empty doorway. Seneca touched his arm. He turned. "I'm still leaving," she signed. "Why?" "Because you need to focus on your daughter, not me." "I can do both." "Can you?" Rylan didn't know how to answer that. Seneca reached up, touched his face, smiled sadly. "You're a good man, Rylan. Don't let anyone make you think otherwise." She picked up her bag, walked out the door. Rylan watched her go, and for the first time in years, he didn't chase after someone. He just let her leave. But as Seneca reached her car, her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, read the message. Her face went pale. She turned back to Rylan. "Someone just sent me a photo," she signed. "Of what?" She showed him the screen. It was a picture of Nova, asleep in her bed, taken through the window. Tonight, Rylan's blood went cold. He ran inside, down the hall, threw open Nova's door. She was there, safe, still asleep. But the window was open, just a crack. Rylan closed it, locked it, checked the closet, under the bed, everywhere, nothing. He pulled out his phone, dialed 911, and then he heard it. A voice, from the living room, muffled, distorted, coming from his laptop. He walked out. Seneca was already there, staring at the screen. Someone had hacked into his webcam, and they were watching. A message appeared on the screen. "You can't protect them both." Then the screen went black. Rylan grabbed Seneca's hand. "We're leaving," he said. "Now." What would you do if the people you love became targets, and you had to choose between them and everything you've built? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter, because what happens next will change everything. Chapter 9. Rylan didn't pack, didn't think. Just grabbed Nova from her bed, wrapped her in a blanket, and carried her to the truck. She woke up halfway down the hall. Groggy, confused. "Dad, what's happening?" "We're going somewhere safe." "Where?" "I don't know yet." Seneca was already in the passenger seat, bag on her lap, eyes wide. Rylan buckled Nova into the back, started the engine, and pulled out of the driveway without looking back. The streets were empty, dark. Every streetlight felt like a spotlight. Every shadow felt like a threat. "Where are we going?" Seneca signed from the passenger seat. Rylan didn't answer, because he didn't have one. Nova leaned forward. "Dad, you're scaring me." "I know, baby. I'm sorry. But I need you to trust me right now." "I do trust you, but I need to know what's going on." Rylan glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Someone's been watching us. Threatening us, and I'm not letting them get close to you." Nova's face went pale. "Is it Mom?" "I don't think so." "Then who?" Rylan's hands tightened on the wheel. "I'm going to find out." He drove for 20 minutes, no destination, just distance. Finally, he pulled into a 24-hour diner parking lot. Dim neon sign flickered above the entrance. A few cars scattered across the lot. He parked in the back corner, killed the engine. "Wait here," he told Seneca and Nova. He got out, pulled out his phone, dialed the one person he thought might have answers. Damon picked up on the third ring. "Where are you?" Rylan's voice was low, controlled. "What?" "Where are you?" Silence. Then Damon laughed, nervous. "Man, what are you talking about?" "Someone hacked my computer. Someone took a picture of my daughter through her window, and I know it's you." "It's not. Don't lie to me." Rylan's voice cracked. "If you're going to come after me, fine, but you leave my daughter out of this." "Rylan, I swear." "Then who is it?" Damon went quiet. When he spoke again, his voice was different, shaky. "It's not just me, man. Krell. He's been talking to someone else. Someone who has a problem with you." "Who?" "I don't know. Some guy. He paid us to mess with you. Said you embarrassed him. Said you needed to learn a lesson." Rylan's stomach dropped. "What guy?" I don't know his name. Krell handled it. Where's Krell now? I don't know. He stopped answering my calls. Rylan hung up, stared at the phone, then it buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Meet me at Ember and Oak, midnight, come alone. Rylan checked the time, 11:45. He got back in the truck. Seneca and Nova both looked at him. We're going back to the restaurant, he said. Seneca frowned. Why? Because whoever's doing this wants to meet. That's a trap. I know. Then why are you going? Because I'm done running. Nova grabbed his arm from the back seat. Don't go, Dad. Rylan turned, looked at her. I have to. No, you don't. We can go to the police. We did. They didn't help. Then we'll leave town, start over somewhere else. Rylan cupped her face. I'm not letting these people chase us out of our home. I'm not letting them win. But what if they hurt you? Rylan kissed her forehead. They won't. He pulled into the restaurant parking lot at 11:58. The place was closed, dark, empty, but one car sat near the entrance. Black sedan, same one from earlier. Rylan parked, looked at Seneca. If I'm not back in 20 minutes, drive to the police station. Rylan, promise me. Seneca's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Rylan got out, walked toward the entrance. The front door was unlocked. He stepped inside. The restaurant was dark, chairs stacked on tables. Smell of cleaning chemicals hung in the air. Hello, Rylan called out. Footsteps from the back. A figure emerged from the kitchen. Krell. He looked different, thinner, jumpy, eyes darting around like he expected someone to jump out. Where's your friend? Rylan asked. I don't know. You're lying? Krell shook his head. I'm not. He told me to meet him here, said he'd pay me the rest of what he owes. Who? I don't know his name. Stop saying that. Krell's hands shook. I'm serious, man. He reached out online. Said he'd pay us to mess with you, make you look bad, scare you a little. You didn't think it would go this far. Yeah? Rylan stepped closer. Where is he now? I told you. I don't... A sound. Behind them, both men turned. Another figure stepped out of the shadows. Rylan's breath caught. It was the restaurant manager, the same one who'd kicked Damon and Krell out weeks ago. He smiled, cold, calculated. Surprised? He said. Rylan stared. You? The man nodded. Me? Why? Because you humiliated me. The manager stepped closer. I tried to help that night, tried to protect your little girlfriend. And what did you do? You made me look weak, made me look like I couldn't control my own restaurant. Do you know how many complaints I got? How many people said I should have done more? That's not my fault. It is, because you made a scene, and now my reputation is ruined. Rylan shook his head. So you hired these idiots to destroy my life? I hired them to make you feel what I felt, helpless, embarrassed, alone. And the threats, the picture of my daughter? The manager shrugged. Collateral damage. Rylan's fists clenched. You're insane. No, I'm just evening the score. He pulled out a phone, held it up. I've been recording everything, every threat, every message, every moment of fear. And now, I'm going to post it all. Let the world see the real Rylan Morrow. Rylan lunged, but Krell grabbed him. Held him back. Let me go. Rylan, don't. The manager laughed. See, even your enemies know you're pathetic. Rylan twisted, broke free, shoved Krell aside. Anne grabbed the phone out of the manager's hand. The man's smile vanished. Rylan held the phone up. You want to post this? Go ahead. But I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. How you hired people to stalk my daughter. How you threatened an innocent woman. How you destroyed my business out of spite. The manager's face went pale. You're done, Rylan said. And I'm not. He turned, walked out. Behind him, the manager stood frozen. Krell slumped against the wall, and for the first time in weeks, Rylan felt like he could breathe. Outside, Seneca and Nova were waiting. He climbed into the truck, handed Seneca the phone. Call the police. Tell them everything. She nodded. Nova wrapped her arms around him from the back seat. Is it over? She whispered. Rylan held her tight. Yeah, baby, it's over. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones you'd never expect, but that doesn't mean they win. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the final chapter is going to show you how this family rebuilds what was almost destroyed. Chapter 10. 3 months later, Rylan stood in his workshop, hands covered in sawdust, the smell of fresh pine filling the air. He was building something new, a table this time, long, sturdy, big enough for 3. Nova sat on a stool in the corner, homework spread out in front of her, pencil tucked behind her ear. She looked up every few minutes, watching him work, then went back to her math problems. Seneca stood near the door, camera in hand, filming. She'd started a project, a short documentary about resilience, about people who'd been torn down and built themselves back up. Rylan was her first subject. He glanced over, signed. You getting good footage? She smiled. The best. The weeks after that night at the restaurant had been hard. The police arrested the manager, charged him with harassment, stalking, conspiracy. Krell cut a deal, testified against him, got probation. Damon disappeared. No one had heard from him since. Rylan's business took a hit. He lost sponsors, lost followers, lost money. But he didn't lose everything. People started reaching out. Real people. People who'd seen the truth, who knew what had happened, who wanted to support him. Slowly his business came back, stronger than before. And somewhere along the way, Seneca stopped leaving. She moved in 2 months ago. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Nova loved her, called her by name, taught her new signs every day. Vieira came by once a month, always with permission, always respectful. She and Nova talked, carefully, slowly, building something that might one day look like trust. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Rylan set down his tools, walked over to the table, ran his hand along the smooth surface. What do you think? He asked Nova. She hopped off the stool, walked over, pressed her palm against the wood. It's beautiful, she said. Good, because it's yours. Nova's eyes widened. Mine, yours for your room. So, you have a place to do homework, draw, whatever you want. Nova hugged him. Tight. Thank you, Dad. Rylan kissed the top of her head. You're welcome, baby. Seneca lowered the camera, walked over. Can I show you something? She signed. Rylan nodded. She pulled out a small wooden box from her bag. Handmade, carved, polished until it glowed. She opened it. Inside was a bracelet, simple, elegant, made from the same wood Rylan used in his furniture. Engraved on the inside was a single word in ASL. Home. Rylan stared at it, then at her. You made this? She nodded. I wanted to give you something, to remind you that no matter what happens, you'll always have a place to come back to. Rylan's throat tightened. He took the bracelet, slipped it on. Thank you, he signed. Thank you, she replied, for letting me stay. They stood there for a moment, just the 3 of them, in the quiet workshop, surrounded by wood and sawdust and the smell of something being built. Nova looked up at them. Are you guys going to get married? Rylan nearly choked. Seneca laughed, signed. Maybe someday. Nova grinned. Good, because I already picked out a dress. Rylan shook his head, smiled. Later that night, after Nova went to bed, Rylan and Seneca sat on the porch, stars scattered across the sky, cool breeze rustling the trees. Seneca leaned against him. He wrapped his arm around her. Do you ever think about what would have happened if we hadn't met that night? She signed. Rylan thought about it. Yeah, sometimes. What do you think? I think I'd still be building furniture, still raising Nova, still doing everything I could to keep us afloat. But I wouldn't be happy, not like this. Seneca smiled. Me neither. They sat in silence for a while, comfortable. Easy. Then Seneca signed something that made Rylan's chest warm. This feels like a beginning, doesn't it? Rylan looked at her, at the woman who'd walked into his life on a night that was supposed to be a joke, at the woman who'd stood beside him when everything fell apart, at the woman who'd chosen to stay. He signed back. Yeah, it does. And for the first time in years, Rylan Morrow believed it. Not because life was perfect, not because the threats were gone, not because the wounds had fully healed, but because he wasn't carrying it alone anymore. He had Nova. He had Seneca. He had a home. And that was enough. Inside the house, Nova's light was still on. She was probably reading, or drawing, or planning what dress she'd wear to a wedding that hadn't been proposed yet. Rylan smiled. Life had tried to break him. But it failed. And now he was building something new, something that would last. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about finding someone perfect. They're about finding someone willing to stand with you when everything falls apart. If this story inspired you, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we have more stories that will remind you why hope, resilience, and love always win in the end.